Hey, Dr. here, and I want to walk you through how to reverse engineer your pain. Now, when I came out of school 15 years ago as a traditionally trained chiropractor, I quickly realized our textbook training didn't really often apply to real world people. I mean, it did for, I would say, the majority, but there's still quite a few people that weren't getting results that I would hope. And today, I often get people with chronic pain that have done all the physical therapies available, whether it's other chiropractors, physical therapy, acupuncture, injections, stem cells, like you name it. And so when those things aren't working, they usually come to me and we have to start reverse engineering the pain. So let me shed some light. It's why your chronic pain, maybe it's a family member, whatever, it isn't going away as expected. Now, I think the big thing to keep in mind is that what I'm talking about is more chronic pain. So when a person is dealing with multiple areas of pain, say like both knees, both shoulders, it's more often than not a systemic issue. It's not that joint specifically. It's usually other things going on, and that's where it's being expressed. So what does this mean? It means we have to look at physiology and biochemistry, not so much just anatomy and biomechanics. Now, most are aware that when there is pain, there's going to be inflammation. But I want to make a point: you cannot have pain without inflammation, but you can have inflammation without pain. So let me repeat that and make sure it's clear. In order to have pain, you do have inflammation, but you can have inflammation without pain. And this is why, sadly, why the first symptom of half of all heart attacks is death. There's no symptom at all. No pain in the chest, down the arm, just someone drops dead. Now, the pain and inflammation concept connection is not new, because this is why people load up on painkillers and anti-inflammatories and steroids and all that type of stuff. But as we continue to reverse engineer pain, loading up on these medications for acute pain could be the very reason it turns into a chronic issue and does a whole lot more damage than the initial injury or trauma. And I kind of look at a lot of these professional football players who are now retiring early because they're not recovering from injury. And I wonder if there's a component of what I'm talking about that is being overlooked because they're just looking at the site of pain, and if that's not healing up, then we don't know what else to do, type of thing. Now, we have to ask, where does inflammation come from? Inflammation is going to be a function of your immune system. But I want to make it a key point that inflammation isn't this random act of violence. It's released to aid in the protection and recovery of infection or injury or some sort of damage to the body. It's the body's intelligent way of slowing you down so you don't go further down the injury train, and tells you, hey, we need to rest and recover from whatever it is. So imagine your ankle swells up to slow you down. The fever spikes to kill off invaders. The issue is we look at inflammation as the problem and we start loading up on things to suppress it. And then we say, hey, the problem is solved. The reality is that it's more like putting a kink in the hose. And so we still got to water the lawn. And instead of the smart thing of just unkinking the hose, we start turning up water pressure from the house. And so if you put a kink in the hose, then in order to get more water out, pressure goes up, and your body's no different. The anti-inflammatory is the kink in the hose, but your body's always trying to override that at attempt. And so your body's going to work harder to produce more inflammation because it's not getting to where it needs to go. The body never does stupid stuff. We are the ones that are doing that. We're the ones wrecking the intelligent adaptation of what's going on. Now, if we look at inflammation as a function of the immune system, then we have to ask, where's the biggest influence of the immune system? And then this would be the gut. Now, we do have our skin and respiratory pathways that provide initial defenses, but our gut is a major factor. So don't think of your gut as just your belly, but the internal highway from mouth to anus, so from one hole to the next. And for example, if you're under attack, say you're out, I don't know, hiking, camping, whatever it is, and a bear pops up, and you think your only escapes this nasty swamp, your body tells the gut, I need you to clamp down and lock down just in case you jump in and you inhale or ingest something potentially harmful. Now, when the gut clamps down, it's shifting you towards an immune expression away from digestion, but in the short term, it'll prevent you from, like, say, throwing up or getting sick from that whatever thing you ingested or inhaled. In short term, this is phenomenal. The problem is that we abuse the crap out of our gut. And so how do we do that? Well, it's actually through our food and drugs. So is it a coincidence that we have a food and drug agency from the government? So instead of relying on the governmental FDA, let's rely on your internal FDA. And so here's an example of a common drug that I see like regularly consumed that could be at the root of your pain, especially joint and muscle pain. And what that's going to be is aspirin. Like, many take it to prevent heart attacks and strokes. The problem is that over the past couple of years, they've discovered that you have as great of a chance of creating internal bleeding as you do at preventing a cardiac event. Like, the only real benefit to taking aspirin in terms of like cardiac prevention is if you've already had a heart attack or stroke. So the risk reward is pretty much negligible. Now, if people are taking aspirin to prevent pain, like, how is this actually contributing to the pain instead? And to get a little bit deeper, how aspirin can affect, say, muscle pain or something like that, is we have to remember pain is an immune reaction. Aspirin is going to block a signal called prostaglandins. And there are some types of these things that are going to promote inflammation, but there are other types that are going to protect your stomach. Remember, our stomach's producing acid that is designed to kill off bacteria, viruses, you name it. If stomach acid would get on your shirt, it would eat a hole in it. And so we are trying to protect ourselves from that high acidic environment with these prostaglandins. The problem is aspirin doesn't differentiate which one it knocks out. So when people are taking this chronic low-dose baby aspirin, it's going to damage the stomach. And as a result, this now compromises the whole gut system. Remember, that gut barrier, the gut lining, your immune system. And once that silent defense barrier is broken, so once that internal like stomach gut lockdown is broken through, now the louder, more potent immune reactions have to kick into action. And these ones are the things that we feel. So from, if we're quote unquote sick, the runny nose, the fevers, those types of things. But inflammatory stuff, this is where I see pain, and where people end up not connecting the dots is because the pain could be something in their lower extremities. It could be their ankles, it could be their joints or knees, it could be their shoulders, whatever it is, just muscles. And so the more that gut is disrupted through medications, through food, remember our own internal FDA, the more the chronic pain can allow to persist. So I could probably spend hours, if not days, going through like other medications and all the foods that can contribute to pain, like say statins, antibiotics, steroids, gluten, maybe many even like plant-based foods. But hopefully this just gives you a gist of how you can reverse engineer your pain, especially if it's a chronic thing and it's in multiple areas. That should get your red flag that, hey, this probably isn't a joint specific issue. This is more of a systemic thing that I have to dive deeper into. And so I know this is going to be easier said than done, but if you need help, reach out, book a free discovery call, and see how we can help troubleshoot your issue.